The thing that I mostly have a problem with the anti-debt philosophy,
Give me the
is
beef.
the home loan. Why is it such a big deal to have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 2.5%? That's what I have right now. Now, you would probably argue, if I had the cash, to pay it off.
We know you won't. You have the cash.
I
You
know.
could do it today.
And I'm making money on inflation. Like this money, I'm able to invest in other things.
You could
and
put
I
it
can
in a
always sell
30-year
it.
treasury.
I could put it in a treasury and get more money
You
than
could.
how much I'm losing on interest.
My philosophy
And the
around
write-off,
that
Jack.
is in the write-off.
Thank you, Grant.
The write-off.
That's my favorite. The write-off. Sending $2,500 to the IRS is somehow better than sending $10,000 to a lender. That's the write-off right there.
Well, it
There's
takes
your
the
interest
2.8.
deduction.
It takes the 2.8 down to a 2.3. Effective. That's what the write-off does.
That hurts my brain.
2.3. Inflation is way higher. Treasuries, you lock in a 30-year right now.
We're
like
also looking at a
4.5%.
very specific window of time.
Yes.
And so things are looking great for Jack on paper right now. But to me, we just don't know what the future holds. And I would rather reduce the risk, have more peace, have that money back in my life. Obviously, you don't have a huge mortgage payment, to begin with. You got a bunch of roommates, so you're doing okay. But for the average American out there, hanging on to the mortgage is not benefiting them in any significant way.
I think it would. I think it would reduce the risk not to pay off the mortgage. Because all of a sudden, you're going to do some math here.
Because you're saying the money's locked up.
Money's
in the mortgage.
locked up. Let's say the house is $400,000 and you have a
Okay.
$300,000 mortgage.
So
I think having $300,000
Talk about my
liquid,
situation. My house is paid off. The money's stuck in the house. I can't access it. I'm not going to do a cash out refi. I'm not going to do any of that.
No.
Why am I screwed? What risk do I have?
In your position, I don't think you would be screwed. I think in a lot of people's positions where they don't have a paid off house and the choice is, do I sell my stocks and everything I have over here, my investments, to pay in the house? Let's say they pay off the house. All of a sudden they lose their job. And let's just say they have children and healthcare expenses and things like this, and they need money. And all of a sudden they're negative every month. In that situation, yeah, of course they can get another job or something like that. But I would value the liquidity of having money on the sidelines much more than having it tied up in a property.
Well, we call that emergency fund, and that's part of it. We tell people have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund before you become a homeowner. And so let's say things went downhill, I would have my emergency fund there ready to protect me. And the idea of me being out of work for 6 months, I'd swallow my pride and go do whatever gig I needed to do until I got back on my feet. And for most people, there's very little interruption of income. Some people don't have to touch the emergency fund at all. But if they do, it's there to cover them during that period of time. So to me, I'm like, I don't need the wiggle room because I have my emergency fund.
Part of it, too, is 30 years from now, let's say even say 20 years from now, the money that you're paying off is going to be so devalued with inflation. I mean, we could see the way the dollar is going. It's going down. If we see a small amount of deflation at some point, so be it. But I think long term, they're going to keep printing
But
money.
you also
And so the value
you
of
believe in the
dollar.
housing market, and it's
I do.
going to continue to appreciate.
Correct.
So my house is appreciated way more than my investment accounts.
Yes,
You know
but
what I mean?
but had you leveraged your money and let's say bought 2 properties, you would have doubled that appreciation.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But there's risk and headache involved, and it
I
could
would
have
say
gone south.
over 30 years, I bet on the housing market. Over 10, I have no clue. But over 30, 50 years, I think it's a solid investment, personally.
Yeah, real estate's
Yeah.
great, and I think if you did it with cash, there's less risk on paper,
Less upside.
and in real life, But and you get more cash flow with a cash flow property. You talked to Dave Ramsey about this, and he audited your portfolio. He's like, the only thing I do different is pay it all off. You got the money, but you like your cash position.
California is a good example of those mortgages. They're at 3.5%, 3.3, give or take. But I'm paying 50% taxes to California when everything's said and done with state income tax and everything like that. So that 3.5% is really just take that down by half. It's so cheap.
Wait,
With
you know what
inflation,
else
it's
I've
just
seen
like,
with these low interest rates that's actually becoming a curse is people have handcuffs now.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to let go. They won't sell it because I can't get another loan for 3.5%.
The other thing
so they're
that-
stuck.
The other thing no one's talking about is a tax basis on these properties that have gone up in value, that have doubled in value in like 5 years. Now, all of a sudden, it's not just your mortgage rate that goes up, it's your tax basis. If you were to sell and buy anything else, all of a sudden your property taxes are also going to be going up significantly. So that's one of the reasons that, like, if I could snap my fingers and keep my tax basis in California, transfer that somewhere else, I would love to do it. I'd just dump everything I have just to get out of the state.
But don't you think
the
if you had
tax base is
everything
so
paid
low.
off, you'd be less worried about letting go of a low interest mortgage? If you're going to just pay cash for the next property, you'd have more options, truthfully. versus feeling stuck. Like, I can't let go of that. I mean, those are the calls
just
we
because
get.
it's so attractive. That's the only reason why. It's so attractive to me to have a 3% interest rate for 30 years, especially in a high income tax state. Like that to me is so good that it's like, why do I want to give up such a good thing? So it's not like I feel handcuffed. I only feel handcuffed because it's like, this is so good that I can't give it up.
Exactly. And to me, that is a form of handcuffs. You know what I mean?
Golden handcuffs. We'll call them that.
Sure.
Golden handcuffs. It limits mobility, but it's so good that, the good outweighs kind of being stuck and holding these properties.
Sure.
With
That's
a low
fair.
tax basis.
What do you
They're
think,
very
Jack?
first world problems.
The way that I see it is in my personal experience, in Graham's personal experience, in another viewer, let's say, if they're very intentional about the way that they're spending and taking on debt and stuff like that, then I think it's a win. I think that you're just winning at the end of the day. If you look at your financial statements, taking on debt and being smart with it, maybe using credit cards and stuff like that, and you're extremely intentional and smart about it, year after year, you will win more than the other person that isn't, barring spending more because it's a credit card rather than cash out of your account, barring that.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. But I also think the only other thing that could sway me is this piece that everyone says that you get when you pay off debt. And I want to know, like,
I just talked about this with Andre. Andre Jick was talking about, he was like, could you create a mathematical formula for the
Right.
peace of mind, emotional? And I was like, I wish.
That's the only thing I've been curious about.
Because that's
don't
what
know what
Graham
it would
needs.
feel
Graham needs an equation where he could be like, all right, the peace of mind is X over Z multiplied by...
You know what's
There's
funny?
no way to do it.
I remember this conversation I had with you a few years back, Graham. So Graham and I, when we were in Los Angeles together, we would go on this walk almost every single day.
I miss those walks.
So romantic.
I miss those
I know,
walks.
it was so cute.
Dude, we came up with the best ideas. 1 hour during the weekdays, we take like a 2 mile.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Why'd you
So
stop?
good.
We
moved here.
lived together, so that's when we did it. And here's an interesting thing. When you're actually walking forward, your brain works more efficiently.
I believe that.
So there's like some studies that can
yeah.
prove that. I don't know what they're called, but yeah. Anyways,
Walking backwards, inefficient, not good.
Exactly. No, but we would do this walk every single day. And one day, Graham, out of nowhere, never heard him say anything like this ever before. He was like, I'm really tempted to pay off every property I have.
I said that?
You said that.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember.
Were you
struck
on
me.
Dayquil or something?
Struck me that you
said
said that, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" You're like, "Just the peace of mind," and you were like thinking about it because I think obviously you had a lot less money back then, so you were thinking to yourself like, like now you're more affluent, so you think, okay, it's okay if I take on more debt, it's still a smaller percentage of the amount of money I have, but back in the day, I think it was a more significant portion, and so you were considering just paying off everything and living more affluently, which I found really interesting, and I was wondering, like, if you could measure out that piece back then, would it have convinced you?
In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't. I think I remember what was going through my mind at the time was that COVID was kind of uncertain. The markets were a bit uncertain. And I had this cash, and I was thinking, what would be the benefit? Because I just moved into a new home, and this was like my expenses tripled by going from a duplex into like an actual house. And so I was I was stressed out from going from like living on $1,800 a month to like, I think at the time it was like 10. Like it was a huge bump up. And so that stressed me out for a while. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. But I want to know, like, because even he was tempted, and this is like, Mr. Pro Debt over here, the anti-Ramsey. But if we can somehow figure out this piece that people experience when they pay off their debt in another form other than like screaming, right? Like the anti-debt scream. Because I think that's hard to measure.
If I'm sure someone much smarter than me can find some equation that may convince Graham.
Okay, so in your own personal life, when you paid it off.
Well, I think also like having a family and getting married and having a baby, it just changes the level of risk. If I was a young man making what Graham makes, I would probably have a similar risk tolerance. But at this stage of life, as I get older, as I find what my priorities are in life and what my goals are, things have just shifted. Like the goalpost has just moved. And to me, less risk is going to create a more peaceful family environment. Like, I'm not going to fight with my wife when we don't have payments. You know what I mean? Like, we just had a baby 4 months ago, and if she wants to stay home, it's not like, oh gosh, we got to pay the bills, and if we lose your income, it's just like, cool, you do what you want, babe. Like, whatever your heart leads you to do. And it just changes the way you have, it changes the way you make decisions. It gives you more options, more margin, more peace, more joy. And that's the whole thesis of this book is if we break free from the system, we get out of debt, we build wealth the right way, we can have what we're really after, which I think is those things. It's not just more money. We want what the things money can't buy, which I think is the emotional piece.